お願いします。
世界は未曾有で予測不可能で想定外なことばかり。それに気がつけた今だからこそ、明確なビジョンと新しい未来を描き始めてもいいんじゃないかと思う。スタートラインはここにある。
Welcome to the Nippon Foundation Startline. My name is Mihoko from the Nippon Foundation, and I'll be facilitating this session. The theme of this session is What You Don't Know About Toilet, Saving the World with Toilet. With the emergence of COVID-19, our interest towards public health is increasing. In this session, we hope to raise people's awareness towards toilet hygiene issues by discussing the social role of toilets. Now, toilets are usually a topic which we don't really often talk about, as it's kind of personal and we all kind of feel awkward to talk about it. But because toilets are so important to our health, so now today we are welcoming two special guests to discuss about social role of toilet. First, please let me introduce Ms. Mihoko Kashiwagara. She's the head of East Asia Relations at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. She plays a role in maximizing the number of solutions from Japan to the issues faced in developing countries. In this session, she'll be talking about the toilet and hygiene issues that the Gates Foundation work across and how they are solving these issues. Our other guest speaker for this session is Mr. Jack Sim. He's the founder of World Toilet Organization, and he's also known as Mr. Toilet. He's working to raise public awareness of toilet hygiene issues around the world. Today, he's joining us online from Singapore. In this session, he'll be talking about why the toilet hygiene environment is so important and the toilet hygiene issues that the world is facing, as well as how the World Toilet Organization is approaching and solving these issues. Now, before we start this session, let me introduce about graphic recording. So can you see on the screen, that's the graphic recording we'll be writing up. So in this session, graphic recording will be used to track our discussion. And all the key information such as ideas, concepts, and findings will be gathered together on that drawing. So at the end of this session, we'll come back to this to kind of like reflect on what we've discussed, which I hope offers you some further insight on today's topic. In this session, in order to discuss social role of toilet, we would like to focus on three key points. First, we'll be discussing about toilet hygiene problems that the world is facing and how the Gates Foundation and the World Toilet Organizations are approaching to this issue. The second point of our discussion will be what the world can learn from Japanese toilet. Here, I will share about the Nippon Foundation's new initiative, which is the Tokyo Toilet Project, and we will explore the Japanese toilet culture. Finally, Mihoko-san and Jack will discuss on what the social role of toilets are and the steps forward to saving the world through toilets. Now let's start the session. I would like to start by asking Jack, what exactly are the problems with toilets? Why the toilets are so important? And please let us know how you're approaching to this issue at the World Toilet Organization.
Thank you very much. I'm speaking to you from Singapore in an Okinawa shirt.
That looks really nice on you.
I like to use some slides to explain the process we are doing. So I will share the screen now.
Thank you.
Okay. So toilet was a very embarrassing subject, and people don't talk about it. So we created the World Toilet Organization 20 years ago. So this is what happened. First, I met in Japan with 15 countries toilet association, and we formed a group because the Japanese toilet culture is the highest in the world. And unfortunately, the Japanese Toilet Association don't speak so good English, so they asked me to do this project, and so I created the World Toilet Organization. In the world, there's 2.2 billion people who don't have proper toilet, and 4.1 billion people, their excreta is not treated and safely managed. And every day, 1,200 children die due to poor sanitation. So this is a very, very big problem, but we must talk about it. Before they were calling it a water agenda, but actually sanitation is more than water. It is health, it is crime, it is productivity, it is education in school toilet, tourism toilet, so many things related to toilet. And every day, this open defecation has lots of privacy and dignity. So in World Toilet Organization, we call ourselves the WTO. We founded on 19th of November in 2001. And that day we call it the World Toilet Day. To break the taboo, I do all kind of very funny thing, humorous thing, make a joke, and the media love it. And when we call ourselves the WTO, we also pretend we are the World Trade Organization. And it's just very hilarious, and the media love it. And every year we reach about 3 billion audience with a budget of 0 cents. We just tell story, and it's very successful. So we host the World Toilet Summit every year from 2001. And then in 2006, we were doing in the Space Center in Russia. And in 2007, the Indian government, President of India, opened our World Toilet Summit with the Crown Prince of the Netherlands, who is now the king. And toilet become very, very important because all these important people came. And the Gates Foundation, Mr. Bill Gates invested more than $200 million reinventing the toilet. And more people join in, including movie stars like Matt Damon, President Clinton. And so we went to the United Nations to lobby for our founding day, 19th of November, to become the official UN World Toilet Day. And it was unanimously adopted by all 193 countries of every member state of the UN. So this become a very strong legitimacy, and every year we are celebrating this, including this 19th November, which is very, very near. Please remember to celebrate the World Toilet Day. President Xi Jinping of China became the toilet champion, and he started the China Toilet Revolution. We are helping him in China to build rainbow school toilet in rural area. And from the dry toilet, it became flush toilet, and the children are very, very happy that they are having the same toilet as in the city. Of course, when we do it in China, change the costume and communicate so much more humorously. Then in India, Prime Minister Modi built 110 million toilets and completed it last year in October. So this kind of cooperation, we have been very successful together with everybody else, including the Gates Foundation and the UNICEF and WaterAid and Matt Damon and all the Indian Bollywood stars. So we also built 2 World Toilet College in India and train the toilet cleaner to become professional cleaner. So we placed in the last 2 years 5,000 jobs for professional toilet cleaners. The Queen also gave an award to us to endorse our work and give us encouragement. And also we got the Luxembourg Peace Prize for this work. In Bollywood, they create movies to talk about toilet, and it became a blockbuster. And ourselves, we also create our own movie called Mr. Toilet, the World #2 Man. So you can watch it on Amazon Prime or the iTunes. So this year, we want to renew a world toilet standards and design guideline because COVID-19 has now put hygiene and sanitation at the highest level. Everybody know that washing their hands and keeping distance is very important, but now we have to design a no-touch toilet, and we are inviting all the experts in the world to do this. We did one 10 years ago, now we want to renew it. When we break the taboo, we use the powerful storytelling that goes to the media that create readership, and then the politician realize that they can win votes by promising toilets, so they go to election promising toilet. And the reality is that toilet is the cheapest medicine in the world, so the bureaucrats give budget and the academia research to have evidence that this is true, and the celebrities come in and make it popular, and donors donate money, NGO receive it, and everybody gets toilet. This is a movement, not by ourselves, but by everybody, but we keep on telling the story to make it happen. So what we are doing is we get all the people from government, foundation, social entrepreneur, NGO, development bank, investor, UN group, university, to work in coordination like an ecosystem. So I would like to encourage everybody, please make good toilet culture, because we go to the toilet 6 to 8 times a day. And if we want to enjoy life, we have to have good toilet culture. Thank you very much.
That's such a nice photo, by the way. Thank you, Jack. Have you decided where to host the World Toilet Summit next year?
We hope we can come to Tokyo in collaboration with you. And if this is possible, we can also show all the people in the world that the toilet of Japan is so clean and the culture is so good. So I think looking forward to work with you, Nippon Foundation, for this very important advocacy work.
Thank you. And we will come back to the Japanese toilet culture point later on. Just out of my curiosity, why you decided to work on toilet? Like, what made you start working on toilet?
So I was a businessman from the age of 24 to 40. So in the 16 years when I was a young businessman, I started a 16 profitable business. I make some money, so I retired when I was 40 years old. And I was looking for something very neglected. And I found that the toilet is the neglected and people don't feel comfortable to talk about toilet. So I took this as my life work. And in the last 23 years, I have been promoting sanitation and toilet for free. So I didn't draw a salary for 23 years, but it's a very, very nice job and very good for my heart.
Because actually at the backstage, I was actually talking with Mihoko-san about your background. And Mihoko-san was actually really surprised that you've been a businessman, so I asked this question now. So now I would like to ask Mihoko-san, how is the Gates Foundation working on this toilet hygiene problem? And what is the condition or situations for toilets in overseas, especially in lower income countries that you serve?
Thank you very much, Miko-san. And it's great to see you again, Jack, who I know over so many years now, but it's a great pleasure to join a session with you. I would like to first just start out with what the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been doing. And this slides, all lives have equal value. This is our core belief, and it very much defines why we do what we do. The foundation works across a range of issues, but we really believe that every life, wherever any person is born, should have equal possibilities to fulfill their life. And just a quick overview of our work. We have about 37 different programs running across developing countries, but our success very much depends on our partners. So we work with partners from NGOs, international organizations, private sector to governments. Just a quick snapshot of our grant size. We have about over 1,100 grantees and about over 1,800 grants at the size of about $5 billion. But again, it's really about how our partners deliver the work on the ground, so the foundation doesn't work on our own. And just to talk about sanitation, as Jack has shared, so we know that in the world there's about 4.1 billion people who doesn't have access to safe toilets. But when we look at the whole planet, we have 7.8 billion people on this planet, and about 2.7 people require fecal sludge management. So what is fecal sludge management? I put some photos there so that you can understand. For Japanese people, maybe if you imagine bottom benjo, so it's sort of like a system, a toilet system that doesn't have central sewage. And it's very much, this is the area where the foundation work. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation work for the poorest population of the world, and these non-piped sanitation, something that looks like a bottom benjo type sanitation, is the core of our work. So when we focus on the sanitation service chain, there's different steps. So first is containment, second is emptying it, third is transportation of the fecal sludge, and then we treat it so that it becomes environmentally friendly, and then we reuse or dispose it. So every part of this value service chain is very important. We really want to make sure that at every point there is nothing that goes leaked. And why is it so important that every piece of this is well managed? It is because if you look at this slide, 90.
It's animated.
Oh, okay, sorry. So maybe I need to. Yes, so if you look at this slide, what's very significant here is that only 2% of all fecal sludge is managed in an environmentally safe way. And 98% of the world's fecal sludge is not managed in an environmentally safe way. And so as you can see in this value chain, it's leaked in residential areas, it's leaked in draining systems. This means that the majority gets dumped into areas where people are living, people are bathing, children are playing. And this is quite critical in terms of health outcomes. It puts children and people who are living in that environment in a very poorly managed hygienic environment.
I think 98% is really significant number. Jack, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I think that that is a kind of perfect situation, but most of the treatment are safe, but not recycled. They are not recycled. That means, for example, in Singapore, we have new water. So because our country is short of water, we are a small island with 5.7 million people. We flush the toilet water and then we filter it back with reverse osmosis, and recycle the water. So this is probably one of the safely treated fecal sludge methods. But the recycling of the fecal sludge is not happening in our country. We are just filtering it and then we are burning it for the calorific value. Whereas if we were to follow the Gates Foundation philosophy, we should recycle it back into the soil because, nature is supposed to do that. But if we keep on throwing away the phosphorus and nitrogen and potassium inside the human waste, then later on we will run out of this mineral. So I believe that the Gates Foundation is doing the right thing, but many countries not doing this, so we have to promote this new culture.
And why do you guys think this problem isn't solving that fast, like comparing to the other social problems, such as plastic in the oceans? There are a lot of organizations working to improve the plastic in the ocean, but the toilet hygiene issues, there aren't many organizations working on it because it's not really focused yet. Why do you think the reason behind this?
I think the reason is that for the very long time, sewage sanitation was parked under the water agenda. And when the UN and the NGOs and everybody, government, call it water, they forgot about sanitation. So when they think about sanitation, they only think about the wastewater treatment. But in this case, that means big system of sewage management. When we think about the people who don't have sanitation, they are off-grid. So nobody takes care of the off-grid system. And now Gates Foundation joined to do this. And of course, we help in the advocacy. And so many technology is now available. Our big work is to commercialize this technology as fast as possible so that people can make it profitable running sewage treatment.
Okay.
Because the important thing is that public good has a cost. For example, a pandemic, diseases, diarrhea, typhoid fever, and even the crime, when a woman go to the bush and other men rape her, that is a cost, but nobody price such a cost, right? If a girl go to the school and the school don't have toilet, then she will not go to the school because when she is an adolescent, she has to change sanitary napkin and there's no privacy. So when she drop out of school, she stay poor because she's not educated. So all these things, we have to price it. And if you calculate everything, sanitation is very profitable and is also the cheapest medicine in the world because if you were to be sick, it costs a lot of money. See doctor, build hospital, have nurses, transport to see doctor, and the doctor fee.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. And I think like the toilet is one of the most cost-effective and saving the way to improve the toilet hygiene issues and also protecting our health as well. And Mihoko-san, do you have other slide after this? Or?
Oh, sure.
Sorry, Jack. Thank you for your comment, though.
I think Jack just shared a lot of the important points about how the toilet and sanitation is very much interlinked to a lot of social issues. So as Jack shared earlier, every single day, 1,200 children under the age of 5 years old dies because of poor sanitation. And as Jack just shared, because of poor sanitation environments, women can be in danger, can be raped, can drop out of schools. So we know that the lack of proper sanitation costs about $223 billion every year. And I think this is very significant, but on the other end, there is a lack of awareness about how massive this issue is.
Okay, thank you. I think you mentioned that toilet becomes kind of a place for crime, like for example, raping for girls. Can I introduce about the Tokyo Toilet Project here? So I think in order to kind of improve the toilet hygiene issues, which is kind of sensitive, we need some humor, but also infrastructure as well. And in terms of unique way of seeing these hygiene problems, the Nippon Foundation has launched the Tokyo Toilet Project August this year. And this is kind of like overview of the Tokyo Toilet. So what we wanted to do is public toilets, some people like hesitate to use public toilets because of stereotypes that they're dark, dirty, smelly, and scary. So in order to dispel these misconceptions towards public toilets, the Nippon Foundation decided to renovate public toilets into places where everyone can use, like everyone regardless of age, gender, or disability. And also we have arranged ongoing maintenance so that people will feel comfortable using them, and also like to foster a spirit of hospitality for the next user. And I think these are the 7 toilets which have already been constructed, and the rest, which is 10 more toilets, will be constructed next year. So first, I would like to ask Mihoko-san, what is the difference between the way the Nippon Foundation is trying to approach these toilet hygiene issues and the way how you are approaching this issue?
Thank you. This Tokyo toilet, I think it's a very impressive, beautiful sets of toilets, and I think it's very meaningful in the sense that you're trying to create the perception of toilets being a safe place, a place that people can easily feel comfortable to have access. What's quite different for the Gates Foundation is that we focus on more lower income toilets. So as you can see in this slide, Bill Gates has launched something called the Reinvented Toilet Challenge, which Jack has also briefly shared for us. It's a challenge that we've asked to all scientists, universities, companies to come up with a new toilet that doesn't require a sewage system. And we have so far invested about $200 million for research and development. But as you can see in this slide, there are some key goals here. We want to make sure that the toilet system destroys all pathogens. It operates without sewage, without water or electricity at times, and it costs less than 5 cents per day per user. And also importantly, we want to make sure that it has an attractive interface. So like the Tokyo Toilet project, we also want to make sure that it looks beautiful and it's sort of an attractive product for our users. The reason why we've been focusing on this is we are very much focused for low middle income countries to have a very resilient, cost-effective, and environmentally friendly waste management system. And we're hoping to transform the way cities handle human fecal waste. And we hope that all human fecal waste is managed safely throughout a city-wide inclusive sanitation system. So I think the population we're focused is the world's poorest population, but I think there's a common thing about we also want to make sure we're changing the image and the perception about sanitation.
I feel like the Gates Foundation is kind of prioritizing on functionality more than design, whereas like the Tokyo Toilet Project is about designing. So, but I think our approaches are very different, but I think that's a good thing because the more approaches we have, the more opportunities for the people to realize the significance of the toilet. Now, I would like to ask Jack, what do you think overseas countries can learn from the Tokyo Toilet Project, or you could say Japanese toilet culture?
Yeah, I think that the Tokyo Toilet Project is a trigger to create a conversation. When you do the glass toilet, it caught the imagination of a lot of media. And the idea is not to build this glass toilet as a norm, but to create the conversation of a new way of awareness about the toilet. Because when you don't talk about sanitation, you cannot improve it. So the Tokyo Toilet Project with all the famous architect design is going to make people think of toilet as glamorous, dignity. It raised the level of the status of toilet to a very high level. Now imagine that the poor people have no toilet, but they have a cell phone. And the cell phone is their status symbol. So if they don't have a cell phone, other people will discuss about them and maybe look down on them. So they go and buy a cell phone. If we were to make a toilet high status, it will behave like a cell phone. And the people will say, oh, you mean you don't have a toilet? Haha. You are not following up with the Jonases.
Yeah.
So jealousy and all this drives market. So we should use the Tokyo Toilet Project to trigger the discussion and make people appreciate the toilet. Then we tell them how important it is. Then we invite everybody to come to Japan, to Shibuya and see the toilet and also see the culture of the Japanese people who is very, very clean and how the toilet cleaner is professional. So all these things, we hope to create a World Toilet Summit in Tokyo and to bring everybody and export toilet culture to the world.
Yeah. I'm
Japan.
so excited about it though. We'll talk about the World Toilet Summit in Tokyo next year in our private conversation. But I think what's important here is in order to sort of improve toilet hygiene issues, which is kind of sensitive, private, as I said before, I think what's important is we start talk about it. Like we start, if people start talking about it, then there are more opportunities for people to start thinking what they should do. Now, I would like to ask, what is the social role of toilet? It's either Mihoko-san or Jack. Please start. What's the social role of toilet?
Jack, do you want to go first? Please go first, Jack.
Okay. I think that going to the toilet is like eating and drinking. You eat and drink and you talk about it, and when it goes in, it comes out. So the toilet is actually a place that make you very happy, because before you go to the toilet, you are not happy. But after you come out of the toilet, you become very happy. So we can explain that when you are eating, you are happy, but when you are relieving, you are also very happy. It's normal. And we want to make the subject normal until it becomes a social thing. And once we are talking about it, we will also talk about not enough toilet, dirty toilet, queuing up for toilets. And every time you discuss, you improve. So I think that toilet is related to education. It's also related to tourism. If you have very clean toilet, the tourists come and you have a lot of income, you create jobs for all the people. And it's related to the environment. It doesn't pollute the river, and so the water is clean and people do not spread disease. So it's related to health. Toilet is related to everything in our life, because toilet is something everyone have to use.
And also you made the point on toilets being a reflection of our quality of life.
Yes, I am so amazed in Japan that when you visit somebody's house and the toilet is dirty, they lost the reputation of their family. And they are so worried about that they always clean their toilet. And when somebody is going to a factory and want to order some goods, and if they visit the factory toilet and saw that the toilet is dirty, they will cancel the order, because they think the quality control is not going to be good if they have no discipline to clean the toilet. So this kind of culture transfer from their image of the company, image of the family, and everybody is very conscious about cleanliness. So what we want to do is to tell the world that this is actually the mindset we want to develop. I want to bring the Japanese toilet culture to Singapore also.
Yeah, but that's so difficult, right? Like, because the cultural differences is there, and like to export the Japanese toilet culture is very like kind of complicated and difficult to overseas. So what do you think the factors that can sort of
No, I think it's you will start and then you will adjust and adapt, you know. You have ramen and everybody is eating ramen all over the world. You have sushi, you have sashimi, you have all kind of culture that you export. And even you go to India, the Indian waiter is speaking Japanese greeting to you. So I think it's possible to export this culture because once we start, we will adjust and then we will be successful.
Okay, thank you. And what about you, Mihoko-san, about the social role of toilets?
Social roles of toilets, yes. I think for the foundation, obviously toilets and sanitation has a huge health impact. So I'm just going to repeat again that every day under 5 children are dying, about 1,200 children are dying every day from poor sanitation. And this is not just about health, it also very much interlinks to their economic status and also from gender equality point of view as well. Not having safe or environmentally friendly toilets also have a significant impact on women and girls across the developing countries. So at the foundation, we believe that ensuring a sustainable sanitation system very much interlinks with health, economic development, and gender. And as such, we've been very much focused on developing a future where we work with governments across the world to build a citywide inclusive sanitation system where everybody benefits. We ensure that gender and social equity is kept in mind as we build these systems across the world. And we want to also make sure that, as we talked about the sanitation chain at every step, it's safely managed and there is clear mandates to perform. And we want to make sure that the range of hardware, funding, and business models meet these goals. But this is just a range of our overview of our sort of goals. But I also want to just mention on what Jack was talking about, Japanese culture about toilets. I think there's something about, in Japan, I think there's something about we ensure that the dirtiest, the piece of our society is clean. I think there's something where we believe that there is an aesthetic value that we want to ensure the dirtiest part is sort of your standard in a way of aesthetics. And I think this sort of also connects to maybe Jack's point that, Jack, you made sure that a neglected issue, a dirty issue like toilets are something much more more than just being a forgotten issue. And I think there can be something that we can build from that Japanese aesthetic value and really sort of leverage that for our advocacy and raising awareness globally from Japan.
Jack, can you quickly touch on the Japanese toilet culture? Like, what do you think the Japanese toilet culture? Like, a lot of the foreign tourists say Japan is such a clean country, but like me, as a Japanese, it's a standard, right? So from Jack, your point of view, what do you think the Japanese toilet culture is?
The Japanese people celebrate the craftsman. So you can be very rich, you have a status, you can be also a very good craftsman, and you have also appreciation from the society. For example, you are making a samurai sword. Maybe your salary is not very high, but you are respected. Or you are making a pot from raku, and you are respected. So in the toilet cleaner is a craftsman, and she takes care of the toilet, and she understands her job is not just cleaning, but to prevent people from getting sick. And she's very important person, a great worker to make sure society is safe and productive and happy. So she knows what she's doing. In other countries, people think that a toilet cleaner is a low salary job, unskilled, and anybody can do it. It's not true. We were trained by the Japanese cleaning experts, Japan Toilet Maintenance Association. They come to Singapore and train our World Toilet College people, and then we send it all over the world. It is strange that the toilet cleaner on the first lesson is to learn history of toilets, why people need toilet. And for that, the toilet cleaner feel proud about their job. So this is one example. And everywhere it is a demand for cleanliness. If the toilet is dirty, the Japanese will tell the owner immediately, hey, you have to go clean it. I think if everybody say that, the demand will drive the supply.
Mihoko-san, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, it just reminds me, there was a song, Toire no Kami-sama.
Oh, yeah.
There was a song that was quite popular in Japan. It's called The God That Lives Inside the Toilets. And so there's something about Japan where we respect making sure that the dirtiest part of our environment or society is considered sort of almost holy and sort of sacred. And I think there's something about that. I also remember, I was just telling Miko-san how my mother once told me about India's founding father, Gandhi, was talking about the person who cleans the toilet is the most sort of holiest, sort of sacred leader. And I think there's this appreciation about making sure that we don't consider the dirtiest part, but actually something very clean and sacred. So yeah, it just reminds me what kinds of sort of values we can think of as we work on wash and sanitation.
Okay, thank you. Now, I think 15 more minutes until we have to close the session. So before concluding this session, can I have some short closing comments from both of you? Like, how do you feel after having this session discussion with Mihoko-san?
I hope that this discussion was useful and the Japanese audience can appreciate that you are the owner of the highest toilet culture in the world. And you need to share it with everybody in Brazil, in India, in the Southeast Asia, in Russia, everywhere. Because even in the most developed countries in Europe, many toilet culture are no good. Even in London, in the back streets at night, girls and boys who are drinking after the pub closed, they are urinating at the back street just like they do in India. So I think we have to solve all this by discussion. And what I would hope to do is everybody start to understand good toilet culture, and Japan can be the leader in this advocacy.
Thank you. Jack, I have a question, like, how can we make overseas people to realize the situation of their public toilets are not like good enough in terms of hygiene? Like, have they already realized that fact, or they think it's normal to be dirty in the public toilet?
Some people do, but most people accepted the situation. And then it becomes normal. It's just like become numb and you don't feel it anymore. But if we were to tell the story in the media and highlight it, they will suddenly open their eyes again. And the moment they realize it, they get very upset and they say, no, this cannot continue. And the young people, we can work with them because The young people want a new future. Maybe the older people get used to it, but the young people, it's a source of energy.
Thank you. How about Mihoko-san? How do you feel after this session?
I think just looking back at 2020, this year was a very, very sad and difficult year with coronavirus. And I think many people in rich countries, it was a year we were reminded of how lucky we've been. We were reminded how our lives are important, how access to medication, vaccines, having a doctor is critical. And when you see coronavirus sort of killing so many people across the world, including the rich countries, it also reminds you how in some countries, in some poorest populations of the world, this has been an ongoing reality that hasn't been really recognized. And I think when you think about toilets as well, living in Japan, living in rich countries, you would not imagine that you could actually die from poor sanitation. So I guess maybe just thinking about how we've been taking a lot of things for granted, but it's not a given in some parts of the world. So I hope that sort of the youth and the younger generation considers what is it that the next sort of future should look like, and what is it that we can do to create a better world together.
Just going back to the kind of first, because your comment was kind of related to the first part of this session. Like every day, more than 1,400 mothers are losing their children because of the diarrhea caused by the lack of clean water and so on. So I think in terms of infrastructure, I think the toilet you're building, which is, I don't know, in Japanese, you explain it as boton toilet. I think that's kind of like one of the ways to save their lives. And also from the Tokyo toilet perspective, I think having this, we open up the conversation and like people to realize the significance of toilet. I think that's kind of different approaches, but that's good. And giving the people more opportunities to realize. Do you have any comments, add on, Jack?
Yeah, I think that we can make the poop culture to pop culture. We can make the song.
Poop culture.
We can make arts. We can make sculpture. And don't be shy about it. We also make the toilet exhibition. And I think every form we can use. We can even make the symphony orchestra music, like I imagine the title Symphony in P minor, about going to P. So I think we must be creative. And if we are able to do this kind of thing, we will make the awareness so easy to understand, and it will not be a taboo anymore. We have a hip hop song coming up on World Toilet Day, so watch out for it, and we like everybody also to join a Virtual World Toilet Summit to discuss further.
It's on 19th of November, right? It's coming soon.
Yes.
Right, yeah. Okay, thank you. I think the graphic recording is ready. Look at that.
Very nice.
Poop culture.
Like, are there any keywords you want to emphasize or add on?
No, I think this is very, very beautiful. And thank you so much for this session. I hope that it will change the attitude of the attention and awareness of a lot of people.
And actually, there are Jack and Mihoko-san in the middle, and then the left bottom, that's actually the edge of the toilet. It's a gray part is the edge of the toilet. And then, so inside of the toilet, it's kind of like, I don't want to use public toilets because such and such and such. And then after like going over the edge of the toilet, it's sort of like making the toilet beautiful and having this poop culture. So like sort of like the edge of the toilet is kind of the start line.
Yes.
And Jack and Mihoko-san has already crossed the start line, and you guys have started walking the start line, right? So
Yes.
now my question is, what is the start line to the audience? Like, what should we, as an audience, like today's audience, what should they do to improve these toilet hygiene issues? Shall we start from Mihoko-san or Jack? Jack?
I think that the audience can start talking about toilet in a very normal way, and don't stop other people from talking about it, and don't consider it to be a rude subject, and just speak about your travel, about the school toilet, about anything that you think you can improve. Because there is technology, there is culture, there is a toilet for transportation, highway, tourism toilet, shopping center toilet, so many places. Everywhere you go, you need a toilet. Every 2.5 hours, you need a toilet. So we would like you to speak about it in a normal way and make the subject normal.
Thank you. So start talking about these toilet issues. That's the start line to the audience. Thank you. And how about Mihoko-san? What do you think?
So for the audience, maybe I was thinking, Jack mentioned how we go to the bathroom every, 6 to 7 or more, maybe 20 times a day, depending on how often you go. But maybe just thinking about thanking how lucky you are to have a safe environment to do your toilet, because it's not a given in most parts. I wouldn't say most parts, but a lot of the population of the world still doesn't have that access. So maybe just having a thank you to the environment that you actually have. And then for people who are more interested about toilets, maybe just starting to think, what is it that, if you're a Japanese, what is it, as a Japanese, what can you bring to this global issue? Because as Jack has shared, I think there is something about Japanese aesthetic value about making sure that the dirtiest part, toilets, are actually sort of your standard of how you can do quality control, and also in a way we almost consider it to be something holy to maintain a clean environment. So if anybody is interested, maybe just following what Jack's doing on World Toilet Day and starting to think what kinds of actions you can do.
So appreciation, don't take this toilet situation in Japan, like how it's much better comparing to the rest of the world. Like, don't take it as granted. And also, to those who are already interested in toilets, please follow Jack.
There's also a book in Japanese, a Japanese book called Toilet Save the World by PHP publisher, PHP Institute.
Yeah, I've read that book. Yeah.
You know the title in Japanese?
Yeah.
How do you say?
I think it was トイレは世界を救う. I think that was the title in Japanese. Now, can I ask, what's your start line now? What's the start line you're standing at today?
I'm standing today to make a World Toilet College everywhere. I want to be the promoter of Japan toilet culture to all the world, and I want to make the toilet a normal subject before I retire.
How about you, Mihoko-san?
Comparing to Jack, Jack has done a significant role globally, and so I think, and the fact that he's made this such a fun topic, it's just amazing what you've done, Jack. But for me, I guess, working at the Gates Foundation, we really want to encourage companies, governments to really focus on the poorest population sanitation issues. So I would continue to sort of really try to get Japanese companies, government to be able to collaborate on this topic. it's quite challenging because what we're looking into is like a toilet that might cost under $5 or maybe a range of very low income sort of type consumers. And so, yes, my start line will be to hope to see some kind of projects grow in Japan.
Thank you. I think that was the final questions from me to you guys. Are there any questions from you or Jack to each other?
I have a question to Jack.
Yes.
Can you share what the song is going to be about? The poop culture that you mentioned?
Yes. The song is called Talk Shit. And we use the hip hop song, and we use some candy color background. And it is very, very fun. And I think young people will do it, will use it, and will spread it. And we also create a ringtone. So you can download this song in a ringtone, and every time somebody call you, it's about talking shit.
When will it be released? When will it be launched?
Next week.
Next week. Oh, it's coming soon.
You can send to everybody, including the ringtone.
Where can we find that song? Where should we follow you?
Next week, I will send to everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Need
Waiting
to
for your
send to
email then. Thank you. I think that was it for this session. So I think in order to change this toilet hygiene issues, we need to start, what's important is we start talking about it. So now, thank you very much for Mihoko-san and Jack for your time today. And I hope this session will give our audience some tips or ideas about the social role of toilet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mihoko. Thank you, Miko.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Miko.
Bye-bye.
日本におけるトイレの意識っていうところはちょっと変わったかなと思いました。っていうのはジャックさんがそれこそプープカルチャーっていうワードを今回出したので、っていうところで、日本だとそんな単語多分使わないし、使ったら何この人って多分思われると思うんですけど、あえてそういう言葉を使うことで日本にもいいんだみたいな、なんかそういうきっかけになったらいいなと思いました。多分私たちの生活の中にトイレってすごく身近なものなのにもかかわらず、なんか私たちは話すことをちょっと避けてきてる。だからそれをもっと面白さを加えることでトイレをもっと話される話題トピックスにしていくっていうところは、なんか何かしら工夫は今後できるんじゃないのかなと思います。第一歩、何事にも行動に移すにはまず気づきが必要になります。なので私にとってのスタートラインは Realization 気づきです。